Let's hear what Patrick Lancaster has to say about this, shall we? We'll just wait for the video to load up.
Hi, Danny and Alex. Patrick Lancaster here. I'm glad to be here sharing some information with your audience. Sir couldn't be there totally in person, but right now I'm here on the Crimean Bridge, which early this morning there was a large explosion on, and it damaged the road here itself, knocked part of it down, and the railroad tracks above. And the bridge was completely closed in both directions and on the railroad track afterwards. And then it has opened slowly. They're only letting 60 cars in at one time now, and for safety, and they've just started the railroad tracks going back and forth as well. But we're here to show some reports on what's really happening, and we're going to continue to do that. So now we're getting up to the part where the explosion actually was. So let's see if we can have a little closer look, and then I'll come back with you. Okay, well, we can kind of see the area where the actual explosion was itself. We're just meters from the part of the bridge that fell into the sea here under this bridge. And now we've crossed the explosion area and moving on the side of actual Crimea itself, getting ready to enter into Crimea. Now this bridge, what a lot of people in the West don't understand, this is a pride of Russia. They take this attack very hard. This is the longest bridge that Russia has ever made. And it's really a prized thing to the people of Russia. And the people of Russia seem to be waiting on a reaction from the government because they look at this as a very big terrorist attack on their country. Even though there's a war going on, that's how many of the people, in my opinion so far, are seeing this action. Ukraine's taking responsibility for it, and it's also said, at first, when they were saying that this was a truck attack, a truck bombing, it seemed at first that it was a suicide bomber. But now it's looking like this is the driver of this truck was possibly tricked, not knowing he was carrying a bomb. And if that's the case, that's also a huge war crime by Ukrainian forces. So there's a lot of information coming in, and we're going to have my full reports coming out soon in the next day or so on the situation here. We're just arriving as you see. You know, again, thanks for having me, and if anybody wants to see some of my reports, they can come find me on YouTube. Just search Patrick Lancaster. Also Twitter at PL News Today, and the same Patrick Lancaster on Telegram as well. And of course, I'm a totally independent crowdfunded journalist. That's why I'm able to do these reports, come to places where I feel that my viewers need to see, because I don't have to report to any director or editor or anything. So I'm just able to go to the places that I feel in my heart that the world isn't seeing fully. So that's why I'm here, and hopefully tomorrow will go well and we can be able to get an in-depth report on the bridge and the damage to the bridge and whatever else we could find in the middle. So thanks again for having me, guys.
Are you muted, Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for that. Wow, it left me kind of speechless there for a moment. Patrick is a great friend, and well, once again, I appreciate all his hard work. He drove last night, all throughout the night. Took him approximately 15 hours to get to that bridge. and nice enough to send us a report. It must be in the wee hours in the morning there. But yes, some of these comments come in here. Patrick is a great reporter. Actually, Patrick is one of the only reporters in that area. As I've said time and time again, if you are not familiar with his channel, he has over 8 years of archived footage that has gone on showing the atrocities that have happened in the Donetsk People's Republic over the years, even happening after the Minsk Agreement was signed in 2015, chaperoned by Mr. Hollande and Angela Merkel, Mr. Poroshenko, and of course Vladimir Putin. A lot of people, this is a political hot potato, and it really has divided Europe, Danny. I'm sure it's divided a lot of Americans. It's divided a lot of countries, and as well as companies. This is the first time in my lifetime where I've ever seen a country be absolutely canceled, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Starbucks, McDonald's, you name it. Anything under the sun there that has any Western connections has left Russia. As well, now we've seen the alleged coincidence of the bombings on the Nord 1 and Nord 2 happen. Now the bridge. As you know, they coined the phrase, a bridge too far. I think now this is going to get very, very, very ugly next week. Russia usually sits back, lets the gloating happen on the Zelensky side. And you guys can understand that, I don't like to see conflict on any sides. But we have seen other administrations be in other parts of the world and not be bashed and trashed as much as Russia has been here. Now, that's not to say that everything that Russia is doing is acceptable to all of us watching today, but where are the diplomatic channels, Danny? I'm going to ask you this. Where are the diplomatic channels? Where are even one person in the 27 or 28 European Union countries, where are they saying, guys, let's get to the table? No, all they're doing is losing government control. I mean, elections are happening in Italy, replace government. Bulgaria, replace government. UK, replace government. They're falling, and they continue to fall. Are they not getting the message that pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into a country that is actually bombing another part of his country, who are part of, or at the time, shared the same passport? This is ludicrous. Where are we going from here?
Well, the forces that are for diplomacy all sit on the side of Russia and in China. And even in Vladimir Putin's speech after the referendums of Zaporozhye and Kherson and Donetsk and Lugansk, even then Vladimir Putin said, we're ready to come to the table. But the whole speech was basically him saying that Russia is at war with the collective West, that the history of the collective West has brought it to this moment, and that Europe, the European Union, is acting as nothing more than puppets of the United States. And all of those things are 100% true. Now, there are a few voices. There's the European Union MP from Ireland, Claire Daly. There's Mick Kelly as well, who are very much for diplomacy and peace and ending this conflict and point to the right direction, the fact that NATO provoked this. But in terms of those who actually have power over European Union policy, they are 100% on board with NATO, and they are very explicit, all of them. There's not one dissenting voice, very explicit about how this is going to be fought. This conflict will be fought to the last Ukrainian. And in their opinion, everything that's happened until this point needs to be reversed, and that the sanctions should only get worse, and that the United States and the European Union should continue to invest as much as they can militarily, despite the fact that people like Brian Berletic, the Duran, have been saying that it's right there out for all of us to see. The Ukrainian armed forces are running out of weaponry. Scott Ritter has been talking about this. Everyone who knows anything about this military conflict knows that NATO is running out of supplies to give to Ukraine. And all of its attempts to go on offensives are going to lead to a very bad direction for them, because there's 300,000 Russian forces that are ready to mobilize, that are ready to go out to the front lines. Once that artillery, once that military equipment has been exhausted, what are they going to do except be defeated? I mean, that's where this is going. And I think a lot of these coincidental attacks are part of keeping the propaganda war up, but also an attempt to try to demoralize Russia through the propaganda, but also through attempts to actually cripple the economic links between Europe and Russia. And I don't think it's going to work because, one, Russia has already made the decision that it needs to go its own way. And the European Union has no recourse. It can't go a different way. There is no different way. Whatever LNG that the United States is going to try to pump into the EU in an attempt to literally deindustrialize that whole continent, whatever it's going to pump, this fracked gas, it's not going to make up a fraction for many years to come. So it's a real disaster. And I think that's where this is heading. It's heading into a real disaster zone. And the blowback, we've only started to see the rudiments of this blowback. I think it's going to come really hard and really fast in the next 3 to 6 months or so.